Right, so yes, in this bag of goodies here, there's hundreds of these cost probably about £5 for, I think it's like 100 of them, and we'll get one of these opens. I think have they got both sides in or just one? No, they've got both sides in each pack. So what we have in here, a cheap product from China, long before the lockdown. So we have these little plates that have the spring side of the battery connectors in, and then you have your little embossed part as well for the other end of the battery. And most of the time when you see these things, they actually let's focus. They actually usually just slide in between a couple of bits of plastics, like you might be able to see at the end of here, if I can get the light in there as well. I've got my lights in the wrong place. I'm not sure whether you can see properly in there, but these connectors, they just basically slip between a couple of pieces of plastic. So we are going to get this remote apart, see if we can fix this up. So this one is just some small Phillips screws, 6 of them, that have got all gumph in them. That last screw doesn't want to pop out of there, but literally it all just comes apart. Now the screw's fallen out, put these somewhere a little bit safer. Right, so this is our remote in bits. We got it covered. Jesus, it's like all bits of rust just fell out of there. But yeah, these are just disgusting. We're going to give those two and this one, if I can get this out, crusted in. Right, so these ones we can just chuck them in the sink to clean. These are our 2 connectors that are soldered to the board down the bottom. But like I said before, zoom in. So you can see here, you've just got these little slots that they slide into. Now these ones do look a bit wide, so I can't even get them in sideways. But these are only thin pieces of metal, so I'll probably just be able to get some trimmers and trim down the side to the correct length. This is the one that's slotted in the other side, that has connection. Oh. Yeah, so these are the ones here that were just slotted in that side, so it's actually rusted through the connector there. And this one will just slide out. I hope this one is well and truly rusted in there. This one, that is caked in there. But we'll sort that out in a minute. Right, I'm just going to get these into some warm soapy water and just give them a good old clean up quickly, and then we're going to deal with the board. Right, that's it all nicely washed up now. Just going to give it a quick dry with my heat gun. As you can see, got it set to 120 degrees, so it's not too hot, but it will dry out. You can use a, if you can hear me, you can use a hairdryer for this. Alright, that's all clean. That's mainly just to, you know, I did dry it with a towel. That's mainly just to get in all the nooks and crannies. Just gets your last tiny bits of water out of there. As you see, there's a tiny bit on that one. So that's all ready to go. I did manage to pop out that last bit of metal, the connector that was in there. Still got a little bit of remnants of rust down in there. Let's see if we can fit these in. Don't know whether they'll go around like sideways. Although we still need to take a bit off of them. I think sideways would be better if we cut these little tabs off. They only feel like a cheap aluminium, so just a pair of wire cutters should take that off. I might actually just try chopping the sides off. Alright, this is where the footage is getting cut up a bit. I initially cut these down. I was going to cut the tabs off, but then I realised it was obviously going to be a little bit hard to solder onto them. So I'm cutting this one down here, but I'm now going to cut to the footage where I've cut it down to a slightly better size and a better fit. So there's a bit of footage missing of me messing around, just cutting these to the correct size basically. Right, I just need some wire to connect them together. This is just a bit of old Ethernet cable, but it's solid core copper. I'm just going to untwist that. So let's say we don't need much of it, just going to cut a little bit off. Probably use a smaller amount than that. I'm just going to try and strip the end slightly. So if I use the wire cutters, it usually does slide the sheathing off. But that's not bad. I mean, there you go. It's only just exposing a tiny little bit either end. Now we'll get our soldering iron heated up. Just going to tin top of this wire just to get some solder on it. I do this one as well. I'm doing it in the middle of the air, so. Right, take two. Right, I've just recut these spring ones because they were a little bit loose in there and they could possibly fall out, so I've just redone these to make them a little bit bigger. So I'm just going to put some solder on the back of these again. Touch the wire on. Doing a bit cack-handed so I can still show it on the camera. Alright, let's go left-handed. Tack that one on there. Might just put a little bit more solder on top of them. This is where it's going to ping off, like that. Let me do it around that way. That's better. Do it around that way. You can see and I can see. Right, so that's those lined up now. Right, now these two should fit nicely into the top of those ones. Just slide them down. That's a much snugger fit. Then I can just bend these tabs over with the wires and just push them down out of the way there. So that's those two connectors in there, and nice and shiny on that side now. That's the rubbish one. So now what we're going to do with this side, I mean this one here is still nice and shiny. It's not too bad, it's just this side that's all rusted and cruddy. So I mean you could actually leave that one if you want, but we want it all to look the same, so we might as well replace this one as well. So we've got a choice now to either, we can probably cut this off here. Yeah, I thought about cutting these connectors off there and then trying to solder the new connectors to there, but you'd never get them to line up with the slots correctly, so decided the better idea would be to take those connectors off completely after I cut them and just solder wiring to them. You get a bit more flexibility, a bit more room if you need to take it apart again. You know, our new pieces to line up in exactly the right spot. I still think it might be better as wires that are a little bit more flexible. Yeah, so let's undo these connectors. So just heat it up and pull them out from the back. Right, so pulled them out of there. Alright, so we've just got some of our Ethernet wire again. Straighten the kinks out where we've unwound it. Like so. Now we probably don't need much, but we'll cut a bit extra. So when you open the remote, you're not going to pull them off, although they should pop out of their housing, but this will just give you a bit more room when you're taking the back cover back off, if anyone needs to. And that's what I mean when you use strippers to do that. It takes off far too much because the actual lining slides, the actual sleeve. But you can push it back in. The good thing about that is now I've got a bit both ends. Right, so now we're just going to tin our wire again. Absolute cack-handed way of doing this. Oh, that's still hot. So now we're just going to use orange for our positive. So just going to take the longer piece of wire, just hold it in the back of the hole. We'll heat this solder up and it should pop through. There we go. So now we've got our positive in there. Just tidy up this solder joint. Better. Same again with this one. We've got a slightly long leg on that. So we'll hold that in the hole. Heat it up and just push it through. That's it. So they're both set in there nicely. Now we just got to, now we can just tack on our connectors. Our plus and our minus, positive and negative. Right, so now they're tacked on there, so at least now we've got, you know, a bit of wire that we can push out the way. We can bend our legs if we need to, bend the legs over slightly. So there we go, and now we've got a bit more room to wiggle and we can get them in position better. But you know, usually when it was soldered on before, they'd just go in, you know, like that. They would automatically just fall in the, into their places. So they kind of do now. We can just wiggle them in. That one's going to be a tight squeeze, is it? Of course it is. So, and then the wires should be totally out of the way. So the board is just going to sit in there nicely still. And then we have our brand new battery terminals all in place. One thing I haven't cleaned yet is this board. So with some IPA that I've just taken the lid off, some isopropyl alcohol, we're just going to take our cotton bud, dip it in our alcohol, and then we're just going to wipe all our connections on here. Give them all a good clean up. As you can see, the alcohol dries off very quickly. It's not too bad. We've got a bit of dirt on our cotton bud, but I've seen a lot worse than this before. Some of them I've had to use a toothbrush to clean. Yeah, I mean, some of the thing is, this is I don't know if it's carbon on this side, but on the back of your pads on these, all these are little carbon pads. Sometimes the carbon actually wears out on the buttons, and an easy fix, a cheap easy fix, is to get a tiny bit of tin foil and glue them onto the pad, and then that button will work again. That's only if your carbon's failed and deteriorated and totally come off. Usually happens on power buttons and such. Right, so let's get this back together, see if it is working. Let's just drop the pads back in their holes. Just put these two back together. Yeah, it does squash down, but that's good because that is actually holding our new connectors in place. So that is going back together properly. So let's get our screws back in and test this thing. You know, I safely put them screws down. Now I can't find one of them. And there it is, stuck to the back of another screwdriver. And there we go, a nice shiny new remote. Now the big test, does it work? Batteries. I need batteries. Alright, a couple of rechargeable batteries. Oh, nice tight, didn't think that was going to fit then. Nice tight fit. So everything's lining up, the springs are in the middle, the positives are right on the ball. Right, now you may ask, how am I going to test this without a machine? If you point these at the camera, the light should go off. Or does it not work on this camera? Or is it just not working? Let's try the phone. Ah, there you go. Works through the phone camera. Don't know why it doesn't work on this camera, but most of the time, if you want to test the remote controller works, point it into the camera. But as you can see, that camera's not doing it. But there we go. Ta-da! This is just the phone camera. It does work in front of most cameras. I don't know why it doesn't work in front of this one. But you can go through all the buttons and press them and test them. So that is working on all the buttons I've pressed so far. So I do holding the phone and holding the remote with one hand. But yeah, so there you go. Remote control is like new. If you want to take a look inside, this might be a bit harder to get out now because it's a nice snug fit in there. But no, get them out with your fingers, not too bad. But there, let's try and get you a close-up of it. And get a nice new remote, new connectors, nice and shiny. Only a tiny bit of evidence down there that there used to be corrosion in there, and also I think in the top of that one, a little bit of evidence it's had corrosion. But the connectors are nice and shiny and new, and it works. Bonus. Right. So now that Sony we had, see, that's looking nice and clean as well. So that's it, that Sony AV receiver we had with the speakers. Let me show you the speakers actually. Right, and these are the speakers. These were actually black. This was caked in gunk. I think I still got the cloth, or one of the cloths. I mean, it's just this thick brown stuff all over it, and that's now gone quite hard and yucky. Yeah, I mean that's not the original cloth. This was getting the last bits off. But yeah, it was just this dark brown stained all over. I didn't film that. It was just wiping it off, and also these covers were covered, but I stuck them in a little tub with some vanish, and they've come up quite nice. I've connected them up to the AV receiver. They're all working fine. Do have all their cables for them. There's 6 of them altogether, although I only have 4 of these. So it's basically the sort of front left and right and your surround sound left and right. They all have these little funky connections on the end. So we have all the wires for that and all the connectors, which is good. So we'll probably sell the 4 of these separately with their wires, so we can get £70 now. Now we fix the remote, we could probably get £70 for that Sony DVD VHS we fixed in the AV receiver. DVD VHS, it also got stereo on it, and we've put these speakers on it. It sounds absolutely great. So yeah, we're going to split them up, sell them for 70 quid, maybe sell the speakers for 30 or 40 quid. So that's a potential £100 from the £4 that we originally spent on the on the Sony AV receiver, which came with these 4 speakers. Shame we didn't have the subwoofer and the central speaker. Probably would have gone. I would have sold the whole thing together then, and it would have gone for a lot more money. But that's it for this video. I shall leave a link in the description where I've got these ones, although you could probably find them in the UK. These come from China a long time ago. The first time I've got round to actually using them. I did order the AAA size, so these things should really be a bit smaller than what they were, and you shouldn't have to cut them down, but that's what you get from China. So you can keep these. These might fit into any other remotes that are a bit smaller. But there you go. A bit fiddly, but if I wasn't filming it, I probably would have done that a lot quicker. And that's about it. I'm going to leave it there. Hope you liked this video. Hope you've learnt something. Hope it inspires you to go and fix your own remotes, or even if you pick these up at a car boot sale, any remotes, and if you want to spend time doing them, original remotes, you can get 20 quid for some of them, especially like Sony stuff. So don't just throw them away. If they've got rusted connections, they can always be fixed in one way or another. Sometimes, not always, sometimes, most of the time. But yeah, give us a thumbs up, give us a comment, give us a thumbs down, give us a comment, and subscribe. Click the notification bell, and then you'll see when I upload any other videos. Right, I'm now going to go and get all this photographed with the AV machine and this, and we're going to get it up on eBay. Chop chop. Thanks for watching, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Hope you enjoyed it.